guys, thanks for tuning in to another video here on the Spent Brass channel. Today we're going to look at the MagnetoSpeed V3 chronograph. I think it's a great option if you're trying to start doing some hand loading, or if you're just trying to build some dope charts to get better shots at extended ranges. I went with the V3 because I plan on shooting suppressed. There is another model out there, the Sporter, and it will save you a little bit of money, but for the type of things that I want to do, this is the route I decided to go. So let's take a look and see what's inside. A little shout out to Bison Tactical. They're a small shop in Colorado. Guys are super helpful in helping me pick out the chronograph that worked best for me. Asked them a lot of questions. Super nice guys. Give them a call and maybe give them your business. Let's look at what we get when we buy this product. So we're going to get the display unit, which is also the brains of the operation. It's super simple to use. We'll go over that a little bit later. You're also going to get some shims. You're going to need a variety of shims if you're shooting suppressed. If you're going to shoot not suppressed, you're going to want to be able to set your spacing properly on your barrel. Shooting suppressed also, it's a good idea to use the little rubber gasket there. It works as a heat shield to protect the nylon strap on your chronograph. You're also going to get two different options for data cables. I've been using this little self-retracting one. Initially I thought it was a little bit gimmicky, but I find myself using it because it's self-retracting and you don't have to fiddle around with this other cord. Another nice thing is they send you everything you need. So this is a plug-and-play unit. You're going to get a micro SD inside the brain, and then you're also going to get an adapter. That way you can connect it to your computer to extract all your data. I keep a little spare in there. You get your card in case you have any problems. Give them a call. Bison Tactical sent me a few more business cards, probably just to hand out to some friends and family members. You get a little repair kit, that way if you have to make any repairs. This is something we'll talk about later. And then the bayonet. This is the actual chronograph. Right here is a blast shield. It helps you to prevent getting some misreadings with muzzle flash. And this part right here is the actual piece that records the data. Super simple to use. The strap system, not complicated. We'll go ahead and test it out on a suppressor. That way you get a good idea of how you index this device to get good shots. So we're not going to hook this up to the rifle. We're just going to use this for demonstration purposes. I've used this a couple times, so I know what shims to run. For this particular one, I'm going to take the medium, the small, and then you're going to cap it with one of either the thicker or the thinner rubber shim. That's just going to help you get better positive lockup on your suppressor or on your barrel. Probably is going to help keep the finish from getting damaged. So it's super simple to use. You just mount it. If this was on a rifle, it'd be at the 6 o'clock position. Let's go ahead and use the nylon protector since we're going to hook it up with the suppressor. It sets up fairly quickly. The first time I did it, it maybe took me 3 or 4 extra minutes just because I was really concerned about getting it set up right, indexing it properly, and of course not shooting my barrel. So when you first set it up, what you're going to want to do is you're going to use different shims to test your barrel. You're going to use this supplied rod, and the idea is you rest it over the top like so. I'll turn it to the side so you can see. And when you're all set up, you want the spacing for the projectile to not be any higher or lower than the supplied rod. Now you'll notice that I've got some little bit of a gap there, but I know that when I start to crank this thing down, it's going to compress this little rubber gasket, so it's going to be okay. So once you get that mounted where you think you want it, there's this little tension device here, and you'll just tighten that down. I like to run it all the way down, and you can fool around with the distance that you want your barrel or your suppressor to extend beyond the blast area. You can just tuck this over. There's a little space for it to go, just to keep it out of the way during your shooting. So it would look something like this if you're looking at the bird's eye view while you're shooting. So the thing that you really want to remember is to check your distance over the top of the chronograph to ensure that you don't shoot your chronograph. So it will just rest on the top like that. And that's a pretty good index right there. I've used this before. I've had really good results. So that would be a proper way to set this device up. It's kind of unnerving the first time you shoot it, because if you're like me, you're very concerned that you're gonna shoot your brand new chronograph. But if you follow the manufacturer's directions, you're gonna be okay. It's important that this isn't sitting too high. Obviously, something like that, you're gonna end up shooting your suppressor. And if it was too low, meaning that when rested on top of the chronograph, if the chronograph was too far below this sight, you're probably not going to get good data. So it's important that you set this up right the first time. That way you'll have good data. Now, the way that this all works is relatively simple. After you've got it all set up, you just take the jacks, they're almost like headphone jacks, plug one into the top of your chronograph, plug the other into the back of the bayonet. It'll connect and it will bring up the shot menu. It's a super simple, easy to use menu. It's very intuitive in moving in and out of the menu functions. I've already done some shooting with this setup, so you'll see that it's on shot series 6. Shot number, we haven't shot anything yet. It'll display the speed of the current shot in this area. Over here it'll give you your maximum speed, your minimum speed, your average speed, and your SD, your standard deviation. You can also have SD switch over to ES for your extreme spread. You can set that up in the menu. Now, one thing that I really like about this, and one of the reasons I went with this over the sport model, is it allows you to take multiple shots and it automatically calculates your average, your SD, and your ES. The other thing that I find very useful is you can store the series into what they call the archive folder and go back to them later. It's super friendly to use because if you're shooting with buddies and another guy wants to use it, you don't have to clear your data and lose it in order for him to use it. So just a quick display, we can hit the main menu button and then we can navigate with the up or down arrows. So if we wanted to archive this series and move to the next, we would just select archive series, hit enter, it would store that data, and then it would move us on to the next series. If you accidentally shot the wrong load, or if you shot a round before you archive the series, you can go in there and you can delete the shot. Another setting is the sensitivity setting. This is really helpful if you're shooting subsonic loads or 22 LR, or if you're shooting an air gun. You can use this. You can set the sensitivity from 1 through 11. I've had really good results, and I've shot subsonic 22, I've shot subsonic 223, and subsonic 308. The only time I had to change the sensitivity was with the subsonic 22 and the subsonic 223, and I only had to get up to setting 2 for sensitivity. You can reset your series to series 1. It'll just restart the counter, but you don't lose your archive data. You can clear the entire series of shots, and a nice thing is you can view archived data within the unit itself. So we can look at my old shots. This would be series 1. I took 10 shots with a minimum velocity of 728 feet per second, a maximum of 973. Average was 861. My SD was terrible, it was 91. My extreme spread was 295. So this information is super helpful because it's going to help me fine tune the load. Basically it tells me those are terrible. You can scroll through that entire series. You'll notice it'll say series 1, shot 1, velocity, and then the speed units we're using. Next one would be series 1, shot 2, so on and so forth. So I know that I had 10 shots in this particular series, and it gives a nice indication there of a break between the series. Now you'll see the next one, the velocity increased quite a bit. That's because I went from a subsonic load to a regular load for 223. This one did a little better, but not great with that SD or that extreme spread. I switched over to a totally different firearm with a different caliber. You'll see that it doesn't matter. You can use this on a multitude of rifles without having to delete your data, without having to record a bunch of data in the field. The sport model doesn't offer these features. So it's super easy to use. If you want to get out of this setting, up just goes up, down goes down, so you just hit the middle button. It takes you right back to the home screen. So super simple, easy to use, it's intuitive, and I really, really like it. Now, one thing, if you're like me, your buddies are going to come out with you and they're going to want to use this. That's great. Let them use it. Don't let them use it. That's up to you. This little device did not come with the chronograph, but I do want to make mention of it because I think it's a great way for you to share the data with your friends. It's called an iFlash device. I'll put a link in the description. I bought this off Amazon, and what I really like about it is it's not just for your iPhone or whatever other Apple devices you have. Inside the USB portion, you can actually extend out an additional adapter to let you connect your Android devices. So if you're like me and my buddies, we don't all have the same operating system for our phones, but they can take the data card from this. You can hook up a micro SD, or if you want to hook up to your computer, you can use the regular SD. You can use that to transfer the file to your phone, thereby eliminating any need to write anything down. You can review that later at home, and you can really just focus on your shooting. So I think that's a cool little device that's worth having if you're running this setup. It's not very expensive, and it makes things work a whole lot better. So that's it, just a quick review of the MagnetoSpeed V3. Again, the reasons that I went with it are the enhanced features over the sport model, the ability to shoot it with the suppressor, and I really wanted something that's going to help me get better with load development, and it also is going to help me build my data tables for when I try to shoot at extended ranges. There may be an opportunity to review the sport model. I don't know if that's something that you guys want to see. If it is, if we get a tremendous amount of requests for that, we'll see if we can borrow one from Bison Tactical. They were kind enough to offer that up to us. I appreciated it, but I thought, let me see if anyone has an interest in that. This was kind of quick. If you have any additional questions, please feel free to ask them in the comments below. We'll do our best to get to them. Thanks, guys.